When Matt Campbell gets on the mic, you listen. And his latest comments make me think that this Iowa State football team could be the team to push this program to the next level, to take Iowa State football and Iowa State athletics into the next stratosphere. And we're going to talk about what he said to make me think that today on Locked On Cyclones.
You are Locked On Cyclones, your daily podcast on the Iowa State Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Cyclones, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Shout out to you for being here every single day, making this your first watch or listen of the day. I appreciate it more than you know. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcasting platform, be sure to hit subscribe so we can prove once and for all that it is, in fact, a Cyclone state. Today, we are talking Matt Campbell and his media availability around fall camp, all the things he had to say, what I thought was promising in that little bit. Then we're going to break down some basketball. TJ Otzelberger, Nate Heise, we had some really good quotes coming out of basketball. So this will probably be a little bit more of a 50-50 episode. I'm guessing the football will take a little longer than 10 minutes, but nonetheless, can't wait to dive into everything Iowa State sports from the top two head coaches with actual media availability. What a day we're going to have here at Locked On Cyclones. But first, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, let's start with football. What everyone is thinking about, Farmageddon, Dublin, Ireland, just literally days away. Today, I was sitting on my lunch break, of course, scrolling through some Instagram, and of course, football highlights pop up. And I genuinely got out of my car and ran around for a little bit. I had just had too much energy. It's like I'm going to run through a brick wall. I didn't want to test it with the tree, but boy, I was right about there. I felt like prime Ray Lewis watching these highlights. And Iowa State football is coming back. It is so close. And Matt Campbell talked about that intensity and what he's seeing from this football team this fall camp thus far, saying that this intensity is it's unmatched. This is really, really good. This is where you want the team to be at. It does make a lot of sense considering just where the team is at this point in the year, right? As you're going into the season, you're not banged up yet. And he said this himself, everybody on the roster still has a chance to be starting. Like, there isn't really any ironed out positions. I would imagine even Rocco Becht, maybe, probably not. Let's not get too crazy here. Let's not get too wild. Probably not Rocco Becht, but a lot of positions, there is still some movement that can be had. Some opportunities could be given, Tom Brady style. What are you going to do with those 2 reps? And some positions won over. And Matt Campbell did say, in line with that we aren't going to know exactly what this team looks like for quite some time. Like, even if I had the starting lineup on me right here, right now at this podium, this is not what he said, but I'm essentially paraphrasing here. Even if I had the starting lineup, we wouldn't know what it's going to look like long term, because we're going to get over to Dublin, Ireland, and fall camp is what it is, right? We've got all these guys out here making plays, and we'll talk more about some of these things, but like the consistency and the ability to make these kinds of plays, all very important. Can you get it done against, this is a very good team, right? So even the offense against this defense, very good defense to be going up against. Again, the defense facing off with this offense, it's a tough offense to try to stop, right? So you're getting quality reps, and we're seeing what this team is capable of. But when the lights kick on, boy, when you hear that of all the overheads turning on, the goosebumps, the hair start on the back of your neck starts standing up. It's a different game. It is a different game. Everyone's flying around a little bit faster, crowds a little bit louder. The intensity of the entire game is brought to a new level. Who performs in that situation? It's easy to perform when I've never been, but 7 media people on the side. The social media team is over there. Maybe somebody's parents pulled up with a chili dog, which I would be jealous of. I love chili dogs. To be honest, if I was on the team and someone pulled up with chili dog, I would probably just go over and ask for a bite. That's how big a fan. Total tangent. Don't know how we ended up there. The point is, in that situation, pretty easy to be flying around. You're with the homies. You're obviously trying to impress the coach a little bit. You want to get on the playing field. Like, that is the ultimate goal here. But there isn't really a lot of pressure. It's still practice. We're talking about practice, that type of vibe. And what do you do in practice? I learned from my high school wrestling days. Practice is not where you are perfect. Now, granted, right now you are trying to win a spot, and I understand that you want to display the best thing you can, but there is always going to be an element of this is practice. How do you get better? You try new things. How do you get better in practice? You implement different strategies. You try different things out against different defenses. I mean, at the end of the day, you do have to make the plays. And against other teams, you're not always going to be in the, the A1 situation. Like that's kind of the nature of football. And so it is kind of, transient in that way. It does kind of translate over to actual games. But there is always going to have that feel. A practice is always going to have that feel of, well, it is just practice. It's not the end of the world. It's always kind of like a little bit of it's going to be fine. Well, when it's the fourth quarter against Arizona State late in the season, and we're down 5, 4th and 8. Are you able to run that out route exactly to the marker and or maybe just past it and come back to the ball just a little bit on your way out? Make the catch, keep your feet in bounds, and not have it punched out on the way down. Are you able to make that play? And if you're in bounds, obviously the clock is stopped because it's late in the game in this exact scenario. But are you able to get it back to the middle? Are you able to keep composure enough to not spike the ball? And now the ref's got to chase it down. And this whole ordeal, we end up with a flag maybe, or, keep your composure, keep your head on, get it to the middle. Are we calling timeout? What's the deal? That's the kind of information that Matt Campbell wants to find out. And so that's what's going to take a couple weeks. Maybe it isn't Dublin, Ireland. Maybe it's a couple weeks into, maybe it's Iowa. Maybe it's the first conference game of the year. Maybe it's even later than that. And that's what Matt Campbell is essentially saying, is that right now mentality is really good. Everyone's mentally tough, but that's kind of what the vibe is right now. It makes complete sense. We just aren't going to know what this team is until later. Like, it's just going to take some time to find out who are the guys that are consistently going to perform at the pinnacle of Iowa State football, at the absolute top. Because it's not about who can make plays in a specific scheme. It's about who can consistently do exactly what they are supposed to be doing. And it takes me back to, you can kind of see it over my right shoulder, that Patriots sign back there. Big fan of the Patriots. Like, do your job. Can you do your job consistently? If you can get 11 guys on the field that can do their job consistently, you will see success. I am a believer in that. And I think if Iowa State can do that, find 11 guys, find 11 more guys, and then find probably, I would say, 6 guys? You're probably going to have a couple guys carry over into special teams. And that's, I know, transient, because it's like, are we kicking? Are we punting? Are we on return? Blah, blah, blah. You get the point. Probably more than 11 then. But are you able to find 11 on offense and 11 on defense that can consistently do exactly what they are told to do? That is the question, right? That is the question. That's where is Iowa State football at the end of the season? It's not about can you go up and high point the ball one time a game. It's nice to have a guy like that. And I've talked about the 3-point shooter from my high school days in the Iowa State basketball tournament. Like, that was his sole job. They brought him out at the end of each quarter, essentially, I believe it was, to shoot. Like, they just got him the ball, and I think he made, I want to say at least 2 of them, maybe even 3 of the 4, essentially buzzer beaters. First off, how'd they end up with the ball that many times at the end of these quarters? But you get the point. Like, there are people that is their job, but that's not the team, right? To be on the team, to be at the top, you have to bring it consistently all the time. And Matt Campbell talked specifically about a few guys, so we're going to bring them up coming up right here after this. Okay, Monarch Money. Shout out to the single best money managing app. If you ever wish that managing your money felt easier, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. You guys can probably tell I haven't quite finished the studio. It's a little echoey maybe. It's a little empty behind me, but a big purchase like this, Monarch Money, was big time. Big time. And this one helped me understand exactly how much was adding up over time as far as those protein bar purchases go. Huge shout out. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Let's wrap up this football conversation. A couple of guys that Matt Campbell was specifically talking about really stood out. The way that Matt Campbell talks about this team, first off, you're just not really going to find a lot of other places. When asked about positions that were battling, this is the first thing that he mentioned. Linebackers and tight ends. I was not shocked by that. That is par for the course. By far, in my opinion, the two deepest spots on Iowa State's roster. Now, he would essentially kind of prove me wrong and say that the offensive line is the deepest we've ever been, or at least the center or the offensive line is. But the way he went straight to linebackers and tight ends makes me think that really is kind of the spot, if you ask me. Like I said, I really think that could be a key to Iowa State's success this season. Then this name, boy, when Matt Campbell said this name, I instantly got hyped up because this is a name that I have been talking about so much this offseason. Cooper Alexander. Yeah, the tight end that we have not yet seen a whole lot of, but really could be on another level. Keep an eye out for him. Keep an eye out for this tight end room, making a huge impact in Iowa State athletics, or I guess Iowa State football. I mean, he is he's an athlete, but Iowa State football this season. Definitely Bramer, definitely Burkle are going to be in that conversation, but maybe Alexander could turn some heads. It's something that Campbell specifically mentioned. As far as other position groups, wide receivers, like we're going to see with two massive guys leaving, those holes need to be filled. Who's doing it? Obviously mentioned Eskelson, mentioned Sowell, and X, as he called him. I'm almost certain he's talking about Xavier Townsend. I suppose X could be used in the variable sense, like player X, player somebody. It's not how he said it, but I can't say for certain that it was Xavier Townsend. I do believe that's who it was. Nonetheless, talked about the center and the offensive line. Black, Boniface, Dylan Barrett, like those are the guys that are kind of at the top there. And then when talking about the offensive line and the center position, kind of also talked specifically about the nose tackle, as far as, Hawk, Big Citrus, Kamari Moore, a couple guys it's really an iron sharpens iron in the trenches right now, which is good news. I think that's really ideal for this team. That's how this team is going to get better. And that's how programs get better over time. As you start to get better players consistently in your program, better players make other players better, and you build yourself up to this level that is just unbeatable by any other team, because your team is so good that when you go to practice, you get like significantly better. I've definitely seen teams where practice was just a joke around fest, and it carried over to the field where, we're kicking PATs and I'm hearing, hey, do you guys have McDonald's nearby? Are we going to go to the McDonald's? No, maybe that was just the area of the state that I played football in. But nonetheless, there are teams like that. And so I think you can't just sweep past or look past the concept that iron sharpens iron. We've got very good nose tackles and a very good offensive line. They're fighting each other, making each other better every single day. And that's a great transition to round out this football conversation with a quote that Matt Campbell threw in, saying that if you don't show up right now, you are going to get exposed. Went on to say that this is maybe the most talent that Iowa State has ever had. And this is just, this hasn't always been the case, that if you show up, at a B level, it's going to be fine, but right now the tape doesn't lie. And he basically talked about, like, we are so good that if you come in and you're not at that top level, we're going to know right away. And that's all you can really ask for. If you ask me, like, at this point in the season, right, we still have a little bit of a ways to go. I know I let off this whole show talking about, like, we're almost there, and we are. Trust me, I am so beyond excited. But at the same time, we do have a while. It's not tomorrow per se that will. And Matt Campbell talked about kind of like the timeline, and we can break that down later this week if you'd like. But We're not even on to focusing on Kansas State yet, so we do have some time. And at this point in the season, that's maybe the best thing that we could possibly hear, is that it is so competitive and high level football such high level football occurring out there on the practice field, that like, if you're just not feeling it and you come out and it shows, like, or it will show, actually. It's not even like it could, like, it will. That's how good this team is. So I heard that and I immediately ears perked up, wrote it down. I thought that was by far one of the most important quotes, other than maybe naming Cooper Alexander by name, maybe talking about the intensity or the iron sharpens iron. Like, I obviously brought up all those points for a reason, but this is good news. I think this is very, very good news. Now let's transition, to basketball. And this will be split, of course, but the biggest thing that came out of TJ Otzelberger's media availability was one player in particular. We may have a national title contender team due to really one player in particular. Does anyone know of this guy? Gosh, what is his name? It's a kind of a hard name to say. It's like Milan Momčilov. Gosh, how do you say it? Milan Momčilović? Yeah, Milan Momčilović could be that dude. It sounds like he is coming in to practice, to whatever you want to call this period of the year, with a new level of this is my deal. Okay, we are coming in and really setting ourselves apart this season. As far as Otzelberger talking about him, saying that he's like kind of coming in and averaging north of 18 points and 4 threes a game in live scrimmage, like that's all we can ask for from Momčilović, right? Because what does this team look like right now? Well, no Keyshawn, no Curtis. It's kind of a big blow, right? With Taman, we've got Taman. Do we have Buchanan? We don't have Mason Williams. It sounds like a season-ending injury there. Not ideal. So who are we going to? Joshua Jefferson? Okay, yeah, definitely a very, very viable option there. Very viable possibility. But Momčilović, in my opinion, has to have some scoring this season. Momčilović is great in a lot of different ways. It's not that Momčilović has to score 30 points a game to take this team to new levels. But I do think for Iowa State to kind of elevate past where they were last season, past where they have been in the past, and not to say that they haven't been good in the past, because in the last few years, they've been unbelievable. They've been so much fun to watch, and they've been, the step from pre-aughts to post-aughts is beyond noticeable. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? And so I'm not taking anything away from that, but to go to that next level, I do think that Milan Momčilović absolutely has to start scoring more points. And like I said, I love Milan. I love everything about his game. By far one of my favorite players, probably of all time. Like, genuinely, I love everything about Milan. But if Milan scored 60 points a game, do you think Iowa State would win more games? Probably. Maybe. I guess, it's hard to really know for sure. But where does that number become like, no, they don't win more games? Because I bet it has to drop below 10 points. And so if he's scoring more than 10 points, let's say north of 18, I think Iowa State wins more games this upcoming season. Why? Because of Momčilović's versatility around the floor. If he's able to shoot 4 threes a game and stretch that defense out, if he's scoring 18 points, that already is a big deal. There are games where you're only going to score 58, right? That's like a third of the points. Now, obviously, north of 18 might not be in a 60-point game. I understand that's, it's kind of game dependent. Maybe it's north of 18 in a scrimmage, a game where they're scoring 100, right? So either way, though, that's still about 18% of the points. Still a pretty good percentage there, if you ask me. Hang on. We're going to come back right after this. Momcilovic is literally one of my favorite players of all time. So it is wild to think that it's like you need to do this for this team to be better. I get it. I understand that. That's why for me, it's like I don't want to have to say that, but just think of the possibilities, right? He's scoring let's say 18 points, 4 threes a game. So if he's stretching the floor with those 4 threes, like I just talked about, and he's scoring those 18 points, hypothetically speaking, making a large impact on the actual score. We haven't even talked about what's his assist number at. What is the indirect impact of Momcilovic spreading the floor, getting it into Jefferson, forcing more one-on-ones, allowing the driving lane for Taman to break in through, allowing Buchanan to really bloom. Like, we don't know exactly what this is going to look like, but we know that, or I think that Momcilovic scoring more points or shooting more threes, which is what they've been working on, more volume, not necessarily more or a higher percentage of makes, right? Like just make more threes, even if you have to shoot 3 times as many to make 2 times as many, make more threes, right? Not well, we want to get your accuracy from 65 to 70. We want to get your total number of threes up. So if we can get Momcilovic to spread the floor, I think Iowa State really puts themselves in a very good position in a very tough Big 12 basketball landscape. I think that is, to me, that just literally feels obvious. And it sounds like we're getting that. And so all of that, like, just to say, it sounds like Iowa State's going to be very, very good this season, mostly because of the Momcilovic deal. Now, there is a little bit of other goings on in this basketball sphere, so we'll hit on those really quickly. Joshua Jefferson, injury situation, not ideal. Let's just put it like that. And he did, Otzelberger did say that, if we, next week could technically maybe go full speed or whatever, but it's not probably in anyone's best interest. I mean, it's August, so probably not the best move. But we're just, we're going to hold back. We're going to let him kind of fully heal. And Otzelberger talked about this is a great opportunity for him to develop off the floor, which is what we talked about with Milan. And him saying that the injury he sustained last season was maybe one of the better things that could have happened because he realized how the team operates without him, realized how the team kind of responds. And I didn't even touch on this, but one of the greatest things from that was we saw just how important Milan was in spacing the floor, how big of a deal he played on the offense as a whole. And so Joshua getting some opportunity to kind of watch a lot of film, be that guy from the sidelines, be that vocal guy for this team. I think that's going to play a big role. I think the way that they're going about his recovery is a very good thing. Play a little bit slower. I really, really like that. It's good news. I feel like obviously it's not ideal news, but I think ideal news would be he's like literally the next coming of LeBron. But we've kind of seen that already. We're pretty much there. I think we can all agree on that. Let's go ahead and talk about something that I didn't necessarily think we would be talking about, team development. Just to kind of pivot, we've got a few points we got to hit on, so we're just going to kind of bang, fire them off. The team development here was talked about quite a bit. Nate Heise also mentioned this. And by the way, Nate Heise rocking the mustache right now. Big fan of the Nate Heise stash. Can we bring that into the season? Can someone clip this and send it to him and say, Nate Heise, keep the stash. It's glorious. All right. It looks amazing. As long as Otzelberger's cool with it, we need it on the court. We need it in Hilton pronto. It's amazing. Anyways, or at least keep it. You just keep it. They mentioned, this is maybe the tightest that this team has been ever as far as off the court stuff goes, and that's what you want, right? A team that plays for each other is always going to play better than a team that plays for themselves. And I don't know if that's a quote, but I might just have to put that behind me. Is that a quote? That was awesome. I feel like that's so true. And so when I heard about how well this team is clicking off the court, that's amazing. That's good news to me because that's what makes a team great. You can be good with a lot of great players. It's hard to be great if you're not playing for each other, right? Like that's just kind of how team sports work. And so Nate Heise also mentioned, like, when everyone's coming in, like, we are extremely competitive. It's a very great environment in actual practice. But outside of actual practice, like we're doing a ton of stuff to build camaraderie, and it's this ideal, like just team building environment. Like, and for me, that's good news around the transfer portal kind of era, right? Like it's kind of a lot of movement, and Iowa State lost two major scoring dudes last season in Keyshawn and Curtis. And so you wonder, where is this team going to be at mentally? Well, seems like they're in a very, very good spot. Speaking of mentally, let's dive a little bit deeper into Nate Heise and talk about his mindset, something that Otzelberger is putting a lot more focus on this offseason. I think we could see Nate Heise absolutely explode if it's the perfect storm of kind of situation, I suppose. It's not phrased correctly, but you understand what I'm saying here. That I thought Nate Heise really started to pick it up at the end of the last season. And we had a whole episode where we broke down the analytics of Keyshawn Gilbert and his dwindling production, and Nate Heise being that guy that kind of was like filling that role a little bit. And to be honest, going into that March Madness, I really thought Nate Heise was going to kind of show up a little bit more than he did. Not that he didn't show up, but I thought the team could make a little bit of a deeper run. They really just didn't, and that's okay. That's what last season was. We can all agree on that. But I do think the trend that we saw at the end of last season was a promising one. I think it really translates well to this season. I think it correlates to a year of potential growth from Nate Heise, and that's what I think this team does need, because I talked about earlier who are the scorers going to be. Well, Nate Heise doesn't initially come to mind, but that doesn't mean that he can't. Nate Heise could be the greatest player in Iowa State uniform history, right? Like he could be the greatest shooter. He could be the greatest anything. Like the possibilities are endless. We just need to see him mentally do it, right? Like that's kind of what we're waiting on. From everything I've heard is like he's physically capable. We just got to get him to do it. And it sounded like he was in a slump and he was able to beat it. And that's where we want to be, right? We want to be confident going into a season. The season's going to have ups and downs. There's going to be games where you don't shoot, above even 15%. There's going to be games where you shoot practically lights out. Like that's basketball for you. The orange ball and the orange rim don't always line up. Like sometimes they are just slightly off kilter, and that's all it takes. Has anyone checked for basketball stadiums being like slightly on a incline or like a hill? I feel like that would be, maybe it's not that big a deal, but it just literally popped in my head because of the ball thing in the hoop. That would be odd, wouldn't it? Man, I don't know. I don't know if that's even playable. What's the degree of court being on? Anyways, I apologize. Just really popped in there. As for the rest of the team, this is a very good team. I think that we're wheeling out there. Kind of the same thing with football. I think that this team could make a lot of noise in the Big 12 this season. We're going to have to see exactly what happens, but I do think that the freshmen could make a huge impact this season. Something we didn't really see a whole lot of last season. And on top of potentially Milan being maybe the greatest basketball player of all time, maybe Nate Heise stepping up to the plate and doing his thing, we could be looking at a very, very good basketball team here. And it sounds like vibes are just high right now. Like that's literally just what it is. And it's hard to really move past that for me. Like that is a very good sign, especially right now when it's like, yeah, they should be high right now. Like, okay, good. We're meeting expectations. We're potentially even exceeding expectations. So just to gauge on the media availability, yeah, we can put all of these like so-and-so's doing this and this is the situation here and whatever. Like, what were the vibes of the press conference? They felt good to me. And that's very good for this point in the season, right? Obviously, it's always important. But at sometimes it's like a little bit more of a cloudy crystal ball. It's harder to decipher. I feel like right now it's pretty cut and dry. Like if the vibes are not quite there, not a good time for the vibes to not be quite there. It'd still be okay. Like there is a chance, but you really want to get this is the time for everyone to be happy. It's August. It's the middle of summer. Classes I think are going to be starting here pretty soon. But right now, we are just basketball full time, baby. I mean, that's what it's all about. So Yeah, I was very happy to see that from the basketball team and the football team. Seems like right now we are absolutely killing it at Iowa State. And we're killing it here at Locked On Cyclones, making sure that everyone that sees these videos is hitting subscribe down below. It's completely free. We're proving it's a Cyclone State going into football. We've got to prove it's a Cyclone State before the Iowa game. We just have to get that done. I mean, 1,000 subscribers, I think we get that done. Has to happen pronto. Be sure to do that. Thank you guys for sticking around to this point in the episode. Stay safe out there. And until next time, Cyclone fans, sayonara.